For example, you go out with a date, right? You need to see some kids playing around. Then you say, dear, the kids so cute. I cannot imagine what our kids will be like there in the future.
So you're bringing a child into the world to bring economic boost to the family? Is that what it is?
I don't even contribute economically to my parents, right?
What's your biggest pet peeve when someone talks to you about having children?
When are you having your third child?
Oh, you've already had 2. There's still one more.
Yes.
Love or money?
Money.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Chatterbox. Today we'll be discussing on a much debated topic of having children. I'm your host Roshika and I'm still on the fence of having children. So today we have some guests and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hi, this is Midi for real. I'm a content creator and also I'm a new mom. My son is just 3 months old.
Hi, my name is Punita. I am a psychologist with Talk Your Heart Out.
Hi, my name is Wani and I'm a freelance writer-editor.
So we're gonna play some icebreaker games first. This game is called This or That. So I'll say 2 options and you'll say the first answer that comes to your mind. Responsibilities or a carefree lifestyle? 3, 2, 1.
Responsibilities.
Did all say responsibilities?
Oh, I
She
said
said
carefree.
Okay. Why carefree lifestyle?
I think I'm a mix of both. I can be responsibly carefree.
That's a good one.
I think it just comes with how I have gone through life. I think growing up, I've always been raised to be like, listen to rules and stuff like that. And I think it's not gotten me as far as I am now when I listen to more of like my intuition.
I think for myself, responsibilities is still very important. I would like, yes, to be more carefree and it's something I work to, but it's very difficult to let go of the part of me that has all these responsibilities that I need to do as a mom, as a wife, and every other role in my life, yes.
After me and my husband married, actually we wanted to have kids in 5 years' time, and we wanted to enjoy some like our own time, spending time with each other as a couple. In the end,
In the end, you had a baby.
yeah, you had a
Just
baby. Yes.
3 months ago.
Yes, 3 months ago.
Okay, next question. Which do you prefer more? Love or money? 3, 2, 1.
Money.
Okay, so you were the only one that said money.
Yes.
Why money?
Okay, probably 3 months ago, I will still choose love. Yeah. But after having a baby, you'll find, right, a lot of things. 99% of the problems can be solved by money. Yes, like for example, you are so tired taking care of the baby, right? Then you can use the money to hire a nanny to take care of you. For you, then you can enjoy the time with your husband.
I think my perspective is a little bit different. I think for me, yes, money does help. But I think with what I've gone through, I realized that if the love is not there, I think it's difficult to get through. The motivation, it's very little.
I think if you have love and support there, right? And I think if you're open to like opportunities, I think money will come your way. It's always about embracing it. So I think that's what I believe in.
Alright, so next question. Happiness or success? 3, 2, 1.
Happiness.
Oh, everyone answered happiness. What about success?
For me, I think different people have very different definition of success.
Maybe everyone has a different definition of success.
Yeah.
So like being happy itself is it's a success on your own. Like to be happy, because not everyone is happy. And not everyone successful is happy.
Yes.
So real babies or fur babies? 3, 2, 1.
Fur baby.
Fur babies. But you just had a kid.
Yeah. Raising a kid is another level. Not only you need to make sure he's drinking enough milk and then he's happy, his brain is developing, his brain is catching up with other kids. And he needs to build up a correct value for him to live his life. A lot of responsibility, a lot of things that you should do.
I think for myself, I mean, my kids are a little bit bigger, so I'm not sure if that's why, I've seen them grow up. I'm past that infant toddler stage, thankfully. But yes, maybe that has helped me to at least be able to converse with them, have conversations with them, talk to them about things as well. Yeah.
And you said fur babies.
Yeah, but also because I've always had cats in the house and right now I have 4. I love to pet them at any time of the day, week, night, anytime, and it's just something that I'm so used to.
So we had some very interesting answers here. Let's move on to a few more icebreaker questions about this topic. What's your biggest pet peeve when someone talks to you about having children?
When are you having your third child?
Oh, you've already had two. There's still one more.
Yes, it never ends.
I don't know what the pet peeve is, but I think it's because I already have emotional internal reaction. Emotionally, I'm shut down from the conversation already.
I don't have pet peeve actually, correct? Because I'm a person that I have quite strong opinion on the things that I care, for example, my kid. If this is something that I really care, then no opinion will affect me.
Alright, so what is your idea of a perfect family?
My kind of perfect family is I have a helpful husband, yes, of course. So I wish that me and my husband have enough income to support what he loves, what he's passionate about. So this is my perfect family definition, yeah.
We should look at what is important for us and maybe rather than perfect, because then it signifies, right, that everything has to be right, everything has to be a certain way. I think for me, at least, it's coming back to a home where there's love, there's plenty of quality time with me and my family. And I think that's good enough for me, yes.
I won't say perfect for like the rest of my life because I'm pretty sure my expectations will change in 10 years. But for now, I would say I have a perfect family situation where I have my 4 cats, I stay with my fiancé, and we are not rich, but we have enough. And for me, that's perfect, where we allow each other space to breathe and be creative as well.
When do you think is the best time to discuss this topic about having children?
How you want to communicate this to partner, I think it's very important to communicate before you get married. Some people are really firm mind that we don't want to have kids. The other party is something unsure, so this will create a lot of problem after you get married.
I would think actually for couples, as soon as you get serious or you're starting to get serious, it's good to start talking about that topic. Do both of you want kids? Or actually are you on the fence, right? Or actually does one person really want them and the other person doesn't want them? And why I say this is because a lot of the times when there's a mismatch, it creates a lot of pressure in the relationship itself, right? And if you realize this, just before you're going to get married, that's going to be a lot of stress on the other partner as well, right? So I would say, as soon as you realize that it's a serious relationship, please start talking about it with your partner, yes.
I think it's also about like being fair to the other person, because if they really, really want children and you really, really don't want children, who are you to kind of drag them along and convince them like, no, I really don't want you to have children with me, but I want you with me.
Okay, so the ice has been sufficiently broken. Let's dive into our discussion. What do you think has changed in what people think about having children versus not?
As a millennial, I found most of my friends still want kids. I have a lot of Gen Z friends as well. They are totally no kids. Why cannot I spend on myself? Now I finally have this independence, earning my own money, so I should do something for myself.
I think that definitely there has been a shift, right? We see people not wanting children nowadays, and I think that at least the older generation has slowly started to accept that perspective right now. I do think that there are people accepting very slowly that that's not what some people want in life at the end of the day.
Recently on social media, there is this term called DINK, which stands for Double Income No Kids Lifestyle. What are your thoughts on this lifestyle?
I think it's okay. I mean, if that's what you want at the end of the day, that's perfectly fine, right? I think the last thing you want is for them to be forced into a lifestyle where they have kids, but they're not all in, right? And then what happens?
I also read a lot of stuff, a lot of other commentaries online about this. Some people can be really harsh about it, like saying that it's a very selfish choice, especially the argument of like, who's going to take care of you when you're old. That argument holds no water at all, because it's like, what is guaranteed that your children will take care of you when you're old, regardless of you having 10 children or no children.
You mentioned that you had a few solidified reasons for arriving at not having kids, right? So could you share a few reasons?
Our common shared reason was quality of life. It means that we will have to take better care of ourselves now. So we are very conscious in having to lead an active lifestyle, to really bond and to interact.
With the DINK lifestyle, what are some advantages you can think of?
For example, if you find a nanny in Singapore, 3 to 4K per month, you definitely can spend the money on yourself. But now you spend on the kids, so you leave very little space for yourself.
I definitely think more freedom, right? Because I think with a child, with a baby even, right, you cannot just leave at a moment's notice. If we talk about it, double income, no kids, it just means that, okay, if I want to travel, I can do it, at a moment's notice. I can go, whether it's going for a simple walk in the morning, whether it's going for breakfast. All this is that luxury, right? That freedom that you have in terms of doing things that you want to do in that moment.
So, in a recent news article from CNA, it stated that the youth think that there is a declining value in having children. What are your thoughts on this?
I would have to counter in like, what do you mean by value in having children? It comes to the whole like, why do people have children, or why would someone choose to have children? And I think the value you put into a decision is also a very personal choice. As much as I have chosen to not have kids, I don't think there's less value in bringing a new life into the world, because that is something very special that we humans can do, is to procreate, right? To grow your family.
So, to answer your question about the term declining value, in the article, sociologist Tan Po Lin said there were 3 dimensions to people deciding whether to have kids or not. Number 1, economic contribution to the family. Number 2, the emotional value of having children. And number 3 is the effect of parenthood on social standing.
So you're bringing a child into the world to bring economic boost to the family? Is that what it is?
Yeah, actually, I don't think it's an economic contribution. For me, I'm looking at myself, I don't even contribute economically to my parents, right? Yeah, they actually, in Chinese tradition, kids supposed to give money to parents every month, right? But my parents never asked me to do that. Even if I give, right, they'll send me back. How can I expect my kid to do the same thing to me?
I'm not sure this economic contribution, how it really works out at the end of the day, right? Because then you are raising a child with the expectation that your child is going to give back to you. My husband and I have agreed that, we will manage ourselves. When we grow old, we'll figure out a way, whether it's going into a nursing home or whatever it is at that time. Because I want my child to be able to live a life that they value and they feel happy with.
That's really nice of you guys to think that way, especially when you said that you can be independent on your own, you could put yourself in a nursing home, Not all parents would think the same. So there were some factors cited for people who don't want children in the article. First, they said that it's because of the cost of living. Second is anxiety about the state of the world and Singapore society. The third is the lack of desire to parent. And the fourth is reluctance to alter their lifestyle.
Honestly, I think they're very reasonable expectations that they have, to be honest, right? I used to work a 9-to-5 job, which means that I left the house at 7. I would come back home at 7, 8 p.m. every day, which means that I had less than 2 hours with my kids before they went to sleep every night. And I tell you, the mum guilt is so real. Every day, and there are days I come back and my kids are sleeping. So basically, I have 0 time. And I think that it's very valid when people say that, I'm working such long hours, right? Where do I have time to raise a child? And that's very true, especially for people who are still working on bread and butter issues, right? If I need to work, I need to look after myself and cater for myself. How do I bring a child into this world knowing that I cannot fully be able to provide for my child?
We've talked a lot about the recent news and trends on people deciding not to have children, but let's discuss on the flip side. What do you think are the main motivations for couples wanting to have children?
So for me, I'm a person that against baby idea. But after I met my husband, I just want to have this baby, really. Then I realized, it's really because I love him. I love this person. And I'm very curious to see how our combination will turn out to be.
I think the plan was always to have kids. It was never not an option, to be honest, right? And I think why we wanted kids was I think it's both our need to be able to have someone to look after and nurture, and I think it's the meaning for our lives, to be honest, right? We wanted to be able to grow this tiny human and to spend time and to have quality time together. And that was always what we wanted, yes. To have someone else to love, basically. Yeah. I think for others, there's many reasons that goes behind why they want a kid, right? Definitely one of it is bringing a tiny human into this world, right? Having someone to love, yes. But for others, it's also in terms of that filial piety as well. That's very strong, right? Because parents expect that they need to have a children, and therefore they bring in a child into their life because they want to fulfill that obligation to the family as well, right? For some others, it's maybe even in terms of, this is the natural order of things. And I think some people, it's expected we do it, right? We don't think too much about why we want to have children. This is what it's expected in society, so we go ahead and have children.
I can't really speak for other people, but if I did ever come to a decision to have a child, it would be out of just love for my partner. I think very similar reasons to you, where you kind of it's like a labor of love. Like your love has come to fruition, which is a child. I think that's the biggest celebration of 2 people's love, right? whether it be through actual procreation or even adoption, but it's to raise a child together. I think that's the biggest thing that a relationship can produce in that sense.
So how should couples now decide to have or to not have children?
First thing for me is the monetary. Can you afford all the basic stuff that the kids need? For example, diapers, powders, sometimes you need a helper. All these kind of fees are not cheap.
I would think the first thing that you need to ask is, do you want a kid and why do you want a kid, to be honest, right? What are your motivations for wanting a kid? Because there are so many things to look at, right? Firstly, what are your parenting philosophies going to be with this child, right? What are your own experiences that are going to trigger your child, isn't it, right? As you're bringing your child up, what are the things that you are going to impart to your child? I think these are very important conversations to decide, what are you both going to be like as parents? Yes, you're going to have to sacrifice some parts of your lifestyle. Is that a commitment or a compromise that the both of you are willing to make?
Just coming from a person who has been through therapy in her younger years, and it's also one of the more personal reasons. It might not be the same reason her partner. It's one of the reasons also why I feel like I wouldn't be prepared to be a holistic mother in that sense, because I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression, and I think a part of me is also very afraid that motherhood would trigger a lot of those things because of how insecure I would be. Taking care of myself is a lot more important than trying to take care of myself plus wanting to take care of another person, afraid that you will impart poor values or being not enough for that person.
So previously we discussed on whether or not to have children, and we actually talked about having this conversation before marriage. But how should we actually approach this question?
You can use a very direct way. You can also use a very indirect way. For example, you go out with a date, right? You need to see some kids playing around. Then you say, "Yeah, the kid's so cute. I cannot imagine what our kids will be like there in the future." If he's really against the idea, you will know.
I think I'm just very fortunate to have a partner who is very open to talk about anything. So we started very early on in our relationship having a relationship check-ins. For us, it was very do you want to talk about whether you want to have kids? It was very easy for us, but I guess it's not easy for everyone. It's definitely not the most comfortable.
I come from a time where it's expected that you need to have children. There's no otherwise about it actually, right? It's almost like the natural order of things, right? You meet someone, you get married, you have kids. But I think that things have changed, definitely, right? People have a choice whether they want to bring a kid into this world.
It's the whole legacy thing, it's the whole Asian culture thing where there's filial piety that you see in your family where you have a single aunt or uncle, and you kind of see the unspoken I wonder why he or she cannot get married, or why don't they want children, or why don't they adopt, and it's these hushed conversations among adults that you have when you're a child and you hear all these, but you don't really pay attention, but you always constantly surrounded by it.
Right, I realized actually that religion plays a very big part into it as well. For Hindus, for myself, you have to have children because the male heir is the one who does your last rites. So that becomes a very powerful motivator for a lot of Hindus to have children, because if not, who's going to do your last rites, isn't it?
So when deciding whether to have children or not, a lot of people would think about whether having children would impact your career and how. So have you ever had these thoughts also?
Actually, after giving birth, what my content on social media was about Chinese related, Chinese culture, Chinese language, Chinese marriage. So after giving birth, I feel that I have less motivation to make those content because my life has changed so much. So I start to make pregnancy videos, start to make mother related videos, and I can see my followers change from younger generations to new mummies, and I would say it's a good thing because thankful that I have this platform so I can speak for a lot of mummies that they don't want to share.
This is a very valid concern for mothers, in this day and age, right? Because having a child, it's about, firstly, it's taking that maternity leave, right? And not every industry is still very supportive of mothers even going on maternity leave, to be honest, yes. Some employers still view, taking maternity leave as a luxury rather than a necessity, yes. Some male-dominated industries are also not very understanding of mothers going on maternity leave as well. And it's almost like the mother has to have her career set back, right, just because she's going out to have a child.
We've covered so many things on whether or not to have children. So now let's move on to a segment I like to call Agree or Disagree. Once you have children, you have no freedom.
Agree.
Agree.
Agree?
Agree.
I think
Agree. People who don't want children will be lonely later in life.
Disagree.
Disagree.
Disagree. Why do you disagree?
I think probably they'll have a better life without kids. Yeah.
So you won't be lonely. Having children is a necessary next step in marriage.
Disagree.
Disagree. Disagree.
Disagree. Women should have more say when it comes to deciding on having a child or not.
Agree.
Yeah,
Agree.
absolutely
Definitely
agree.
It's our body.
First of all, it's our body. Second of all, we are the one who take care of them most of the time after give birth. Yeah.
Past a certain age, it'll be hard to have children.
Agree. Definitely agree.
I disagree because I think right now there are many steps that we can take, and age shouldn't be the only predictor to rush into having a child, basically, right? We have seen women above the age of 40 who are still having children, right? Yes, the maternal risk goes up a little, but at the end of the day, it's still a choice.
Children are a blessing in your life.
Agree.
Agree. Agree.
Yeah. Agree.
Okay, last statement. Children should pay their parents back later in life with financial and emotional support.
Disagree.
I agree on myself, but I disagree on my son. I think I should pay back, but my parents stopped me from doing that. But I don't want my son to have this mentality that they need to take care of me when they grow old.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget that at the end of the day, regardless of whether you think your children will take care of you when you're old, your golden years will mostly be with your husband.
I absolutely agree, right? Children shouldn't be our life insurance policy, isn't it? Right? It's very different because for myself, I will do it for my parents. And I hope that likewise, if they want to do it later on, if they have the capability to do it, sure. But I don't expect it at all.
So to end off, I have one last question for you. What is one final piece of advice you have for future couples out there on having children?
I would say think 10 times, 100 times before you decide to have children. Make sure that it's for the right reasons. Make sure that both of you are all in and you're prepared for what will happen. And I think like Wani said, you cannot be 100% prepared, but at least to be 50% prepared of the realities of what you're going to expect when you have a child.
I would say to be very open with your partner, like to the point where you have to have a very explicit, do you really want children? You cannot be like, yeah, when the time comes. It has to be, yeah, I really want children. And if you want to go into specifics, how many? At least both of you are on the same page.
Watch all my new Mommy 101 videos. All I want to say is there already. If after watching all the series you still want a kid, then go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much everyone. That was really insightful and now I have to think whether I want to have children or not. We've come to the end of this episode. Catch us in the next episode of Chatterbox. I'm your host Roshika signing off. Bye!
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. If you like this video, you can
Like,
Comment.
Share.
and subscribe. Bye!